What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and Wonder Woman 1984, the Warner Brothers tentpole film, will now release on both HBO Max and in theaters on Christmas. And this may be the final death blow to many theaters out there. Now, I don't think it will end the entire industry, but the idea that most small towns can have one or two movie theaters in them, that's going to be a thing of the past. Times change, and I understand that, but it's going to be sad to see. I think you'll still be able to see movies in movie theaters, but ultimately, with the release of Wonder Woman 1984 on HBO Max, I'm not sure. It's going to depend if it works or not, ultimately. Like we've seen the disaster that was Mulan on Disney Plus, but I don't think we have enough data. This is a $200 million movie that Warner Brothers is going to have to make some money. And now you're going to get people into HBO Max, which we'll discuss in a minute, at $15 a month. But there is a 7-day free trial. So I don't know if they bar free trials from watching it. But hypothetically, you could sign up for the 7-day free trial, watch the movie, and then cancel, which probably be what I do. AMC's Adam Aron isn't the only one who is happy about Warner Media's decision to take Wonder Woman 1984 theatrical date and date on HBO Max. This morning, the Independent Cinema Alliance, which reps North America's indie movie theaters, exclaimed their support to the Burbank, California studio and its plans to keep the Gal Gadot, Kristen Wiig, Chris Pine movie on release schedule on December 25th. This despite the fact that cinemas will be competing with the streaming service for eyeballs. Quote, "The world's first lockdown model, which does not reflect long-term formal shift in the studio's distribution strategies, will ensure that moviegoers across North America will see Wonder Woman in theaters and help save the day for our cinemas this Christmas," reads an ICA release. "We are extremely grateful for the extraordinary and unrivaled support and leadership from our valued industry partner, Warner Brothers," and Byron Berkeley, ICA president, after boldly launching the Labor Day reopening of movie theaters across the country with the release of Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Warner Brothers has again shown their unwavering commitment to the theatrical exhibition by virtually saving Christmas for the industry, keeping Wonder Woman 1984 on schedule on December 25th. HBO's Max. Now, the stock market is curious. HBO Max's Wonder Woman 1984 bet. Wall Street debates the grand experiment. "We see this as a smart, albeit expensive, strategic maneuver," credits Susie Douglas Mitchelson as an industry observer's weigh in on the strategy. "This is an unprecedented move for a major Hollywood company, especially for a $200 million film, and a grand experiment that could have long-term lasting implications if successful." Credits Susie. Analyst Douglas Mitchelson wrote in a report, "Up to now, speculation had been that Wonder Woman 1984 could either be delayed or be released in theaters, then shifted over to HBO Max after a short exclusivity period." The entertainment arm of giant telecom AT&T said late Wednesday that follow-up to the 2017 blockbuster, which earned $828 million at the box office, which reunites director Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot, which would bow in whatever U.S. cinemas remain in December, as well as Warner Media's streaming service, HBO Max, for 1 month before a month-long theatrical window and then premium VOD release. In international markets where HBO Max is not available, the film will actually start rolling out December 16th. I find it fascinating, and we will be measuring the performance of this movie in an entirely new way, Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar said about the release strategy in a blog post. "Wall Street will look for data and color on the $200 million tentpole's performance after its launch, as the financial fallout will be difficult to gauge given the lockdown-specific box office potential." Look, there's a lot going on here. Hypothetically, this could be a winner. Now, I've talked about this before. Movie theaters in general keep about 50% of the box office, meaning Hollywood gets about half. If a movie makes $1 billion, Hollywood gets $500 million, and Hollywood also foots the bill for the film and advertising. During these more stressful times, sometimes theaters may request a bigger cut. I've seen articles saying that Disney was taking 65% of the theatrical release cut, still meaning Hollywood missing out on 35% of the potential profit. Let's just take a 50-50 scenario. Super simple math, right? What that means is they could sell half as many tickets at the same price and still make the same money, if that makes sense to you. Now, when you look at HBO Max, this is an interesting model too, because this is a $15 a month service that people who already have HBO get for free, so they're going to get to see extra value in their movie. But they say HBO Max is given how starved audiences are for film content, both in terms of converting HBO subs. HBO Max has been off to a slow start with only 8.6 million of the 28.7 million eligible US HBO subs taking the free conversion over to HBO Max so far and adding new subscribers to HBO Max. The 38 million total HBO Max subs are just under 30% of US households. Mitchelson said the goal will be to show customers, content partners, and employees and investors how seriously the company is pivoting to streaming and take advantage of nationally strong selling period for streaming. The last 2 weeks of the year are Netflix's biggest sales weeks, especially given the unfortunate reinstatement of social distancing and associated lockdowns. Mitchelson's called Clark's mention of the 4 million people who saw the first Wonder Woman on its first day in theatrical release in 2017 a way to help set the narrative on what the company might consider a success. The financial math, however, is complicated. The first Wonder Woman grossed $413 million in theaters in the U.S. and $409 million overseas for $822 million total. Warner's likely collected a net of $200 million or so in the U.S. and would have expected at least pre-lockdown, with tens of millions more from pay-per-view and home video. At the same time, marketing costs might be less than normal for this release, where there will still be some level of theatrical revenue for Wonder Woman 1984. His calculation, on balance, using pre-lockdown box office, would suggest approximately $200 million in marketing investment in HBO due to this decision. We would not agree with simple math of subscribers acquired times average revenue per time of life, though. Now, ultimately, you have a $15 a month service. If you convert people to this service, how long will they stay? You know, there are many subscription services that the average lifespan is like 7 months. There's the argument that, you know, I was going to take a family of 4 to the theaters for $75, and thus HBO might have netted more for a family of 4. This is possible, but understand that HBO removing the middleman here, I believe, is ultimately their goal. It's not one that I am happy about. It's not one that I agree with. Maybe this is just a sign of times changing, but certainly the lockdowns have forced this development. I'm not sure you would have seen this heavy of an investment into streaming if not for the various lockdowns. What does this mean for theaters long term? I don't think the news is good. I think that there are still a lot of people that prefer to see movies in the theaters, and that might not change. But AMC is already talking about shutting down various theaters and what the new world is going to look like, because they don't have any money. They're broke. In fact, let me bring up this article quick. They're burning through cash at levels that are, you know, impossible to understand. You see here on August 6th, they talk about the post-revenue collapse amid lockdowns. Or who is the other theater? Regal, I think it is. Regal. Regal Theaters was also Regal to reopen theaters in New York State outside of New York City. They're trying to reopen. But ultimately, if they don't have any movies to show, what can they do? They have no option to. I mean, they could show old movies, but without the Hollywood marketing machine, I don't know. This is a huge gamble for Warner, and I'm torn. I've always said I see this post-lockdown world as follows: super huge, mega tentpole movies will still do decent in the theaters. Not like they used to, but they'll still do decent. And then regular, run-of-the-mill movies, they're going to go to VOD. You can see Brandon Katz saying, he's a senior entertainment reporter for Observer, saying, I still love movie theaters, but anyone paying attention saw the writing on the wall. Theaters will be reserved for event-level blockbusters in a post-lockdown world, with nearly everything else going to at-home platforms. It's sad, but I'm not devastated because I've seen it coming for years. I've been trumpeting this for the past few weeks. Reduced slates focused on tentpoles, event pictures, and lower-budget Blumhouse-style genre picks. Economics for mid-budget films were already starting to look bad prior to the lockdowns. Yep, and Brandon says, the 2010s really underscored everything you just mentioned and why your own Sony organization shifted away from the star vehicles. Math doesn't add up for non-blockbusters or low-risk, high-upside plays like Blumhouse. Ultimately, maybe this will be better for everybody. I hope that people in the theater industry, have time to pivot and find something new. We're going to see with this experiment on Christmas. This is another huge blockbuster. Tenet didn't go great. Let's see about Wonder Woman. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.